Are we keeping that? Are we going to keep that intro?
We should, right? Welcome back to Resilient Events. I am Marissa and my co host, John. Hi, John.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I'm really enjoying our episodes. We've gotten some feedback on our first few episodes and our interaction and the way we flow. So good job to us.
Cheers.
Yes. So what are we talking about today?
I thought that, so I'm the one that writes these episodes here, right?
Yes.
Marissa's just the talent. And so I thought at this point, we've talked so much about all these different things, all these different recommendations. It was like, but does any of the audience really know who we are at this point? I don't know. And so I thought probably really great if I just interview you for an episode. Learn about who is Marisa Cali.
For one, part of me doesn't like to do it because I have a little bit of imposter syndrome to talk about myself. But I think I present myself in a way when I'm speaking to other clients or an online presence that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to live streaming. But if you've only come in contact with me in the recent couple of years, then you don't know all the background. So we get to learn about that today. Get to talk about myself.
Yay. The easy way though, because I just get to pester you with questions, and so that's way more fun.
Yeah.
So you know what? We don't really need to know like what your parents' names were or like where you went to high school. But
Right.
who were you, like professional history before social media? I really don't even know the details.
Yeah.
I think that you like came from this nebulous world out of like social media and then live streaming and focused there, but like I don't really know anything. How did you what were you doing before you got into social media?
Yeah, so I was doing I started out doing customer service in the industry and digital marketing as a whole. I started out doing customer service for a web design company. And this was in 2006 is when I started. So it was very everyone needed a website. People were starting to get into the digital age. The website company that I work for, he serviced a lot of local businesses, like the water district and
San Diego, right?
Yes, in San Diego. Yeah. And my background prior to that, I was working as customer service and sales for a cell phone company, Verizon.
Got it. Okay.
Wireless. So it was
like
kind
flip
of
phones?
Yeah, I was there when like the
Flip
iPhone got
phones.
released and it was
Wow.
like a big thing. And then like the whole when you could carry your number from one carrier to another, like I was in that whole thing. And I remember having a meeting, and this was when I was living in New York City. There was a meeting where we got to preview the first camera or the color screen phone, flip phone.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And it was like a big deal. It was like, wow, we can actually like, and I think it took pictures. So like, it was a flip phone with cameras, and there was a little mini color screen. So we went from, the old school like big brick phones to flip phones and then smartphones, and So that was all I was in tech, but not really like in digital marketing because I don't think it was such a big industry until shortly after that, where everyone needed to be online. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So flip phones to selling websites or doing customer service for selling websites?
Yeah. So I was more like a website project manager. So that my boss would sell the projects and then I would manage the projects. And then we had one designer, one designer. He did graphics and he did coding. So that was kind of interesting because it's just three of us on the team doing all the things. I think we managed maybe 15 or 20 websites at that time. So it was cool. And then I met my husband online and moved to New York, and I started my
Plenty of
agent.
fish?
No, MySpace.
Oh, even better. Okay.
Yeah, so this was way back when, and so I just was, doing website project management. So I learned a lot of different project management tools during that time. It wasn't like, everything was online. You were kind of
Yeah.
figuring out things. And this was pre social media. So, like, no one really, I mean, there was MySpace, but there was no business
Yeah.
social media
And so
necessary.
this was like 2000, sorry, 2006, did you say?
It was 8 when I moved there, 2008. Yeah.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so I worked for a smaller agency when I moved up there. It was obviously a much larger pay because from San Diego to New York, it was a big deal. And
Yeah.
then I graduated into a bigger agency that did a specific enterprise product for real estate agents. So I
Oh,
was
okay.
or real estate brokers. So we
Yeah.
were building websites for real estate brokers.
Nice.
Oh,
Niching
let
down.
me let me clarify, luxury real estate brokers.
Got
So
it. Okay.
it was pretty interesting. Worked in a high rise right in Midtown.
Yeah.
Learned all the things digital marketing, but it kind of shielded me from all the updates.
Yeah.
Um, because when I found out that I was going to get let go, so I'm trying not to do the whole story because it's a long thing, but
Yes.
basically, we got married. I was working there for like 5 years, and then I decided that we wanted to move back home and home to San Diego
Yeah.
to be around family and do a new chapter in our lives. And they were cool with that. So I was working from home as of 2013, pretty
Wow.
much like ten years ago.
Got it. So
So
you're working for that same company.
yeah, it was.
Cool.
Yeah.
From
So
San Diego. Awesome. So you're
they,
making New York money in San Diego?
oh yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
really? Yeah.
However, like I said, it kind of shielded me from all the new advancements in the industry, all the
Yeah.
new technology because I was very focused on their product, their processes. Like we didn't use a lot of tools that were outside of internal tools that they may have built or
Yeah.
and so when they hired my replacement and I was training him and then I found out that they were going to let me go, I was looking for a job and I couldn't get anything similar because one, my pay requirement, I wasn't trying to take a
Pay
pay
cut.
cut, yeah, pay
Yeah.
cut down, but I think, there was a little bit of doubt in there that I didn't feel I could get a job in San Diego because I was, at a higher rate and I only
Yeah.
knew a certain thing. So I'm sure that came across in my job search when I was
Yeah.
looking for roles. I was given like 5 or 6 months of notice.
Okay.
Um, Not officially, but like my supervisor was telling me, and that hopefully no one will see this, but yeah, she kind of gave me the hint that it was going to happen. So it wasn't a surprise.
Got it.
Yeah. And then I basically leveraged my connections in that industry because I didn't have a job lined up once it happened. And once that happened, I was reaching out to old connections that I worked with. So a lot of these real estate brokers had consultants already that they were working with to help them execute their websites. And so
Yeah.
I was able to make those connections and kind of work. Did a lot of data entry in the beginning,
Yeah.
like just getting things online. So yeah, that was kind of my journey into social media, so to say.
Yeah. And
Um,
so, yeah, what
Doing social.
particularly turned that into social media? So you started doing social media work for those real estate agents?
Yeah. So there was one brokerage in particular that had the consultant managing their websites and agent websites. So they had already had the broker website, and then they needed the agent website. So they
Yeah.
needed someone to help facilitate the online website of their agents and all the different agents. So I was like collecting bios and making sure that those are entered in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't social media like big Facebook or there was no Instagram. And yeah, it was just kind of like understanding tech and to be able to do it, converting people that were not into tech into like an online like profile. So
Got it. And so you were doing that on your own, or
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So that was that
Yeah.
your first
That was my
business?
first paid gig,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's like I mean, and back then, this was 2015. As far as I knew, there was no online, business management course that I could take to understand how to run business, how to write contracts, how to charge for
So
your
you're winging it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was and I look back on it because I was winging it for probably like 5 years
Whoa.
before I realized or maybe less than that, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Not knowing what to charge, not knowing, and I was stuck in the corporate, pay rate of, like, what I feel I could charge and
Yeah.
how much work is this gonna be, and then balancing that between these, like, you have to charge an hourly rate, how much is this charge, but not thinking all the other costs involved, all the overhead for me, like
Yeah.
tools and banking and, all the other stuff. I wasn't really factoring that in.
Yeah.
So
Fair. So it was a grind for a couple years.
oh yeah, there was a few, and then I started working for some like startups, helping them with their digital presence, building content. It became more social media content creation and really doing a lot of different graphics and different projects that were social media released, and sometimes it would bleed over into managing their website. It really was
Got it.
kind of a mix of all the things,
So you're
anything
like
digital.
a one lady agency,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I got to experience a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of clients that I don't wanna have. A lot
Yeah.
of, just learning along the way, how to run a business, but also, I was really at the forefront of all the new tools
Yeah.
and new strategies, so that's what kept getting me business.
Got it.
Um
Okay, so you're always kind of leading in that way. And did you
Mhm.
ever get to like kind of niche down on like who you were serving or exactly what you were
Yeah.
doing for them, or were they just being like, "Hey, I'm going to give you some money. Can you do A, B, and C?" And you're like, "I'll just take it."
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, there was, a constant need to want to niche, but I couldn't ever articulate what that was because
Yeah,
there was people that were paying me what I would like them to pay. I don't even know if that was, like, the legitimate amount, um, and then there was people that were paying more, but I didn't really love the work, and so it
yeah,
was kind of like, well, right now I'm just figuring it out, and I could never get to the point where I could let go of people
yeah.
to be able to niche down. It was like, I have to do all of these things
Had to
because
take everybody that came in the door.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and it was, right around the time where I was doing social media for a local soccer club, so it was really blending a lot of my personal interests of soccer into, my expertise in social media, but it was a startup essentially, and the first thing that gets cut when things don't go well is marketing.
yeah,
So my monthly went way down, and I really kind of had a wake up call of like, okay, I just need to focus on those clients that I know I want to serve. And it was always about personal branding to me. Like I would always check people's, like my friends in the industry. I was
yeah.
always like, figuring out how can I help this person who, I've been working on my own for 5 years at that point. Yeah, I think it was 5 years or 6 years. How can I help this person who wants to go out on their own make their business better? And
Right.
it started getting into like personal branding and LinkedIn. So that was
Okay.
my niche in terms of platform, but I didn't niche down in terms of industry yet.
Got it. And still, it's a good. It's narrower than just doing everything and
Yeah.
websites, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Got it, okay, and so how long did that continue? You were kind of focused on, personal branding
Yeah, so
and
that was
LinkedIn.
like 2017 to 19
Yeah,
focus most. Um, and I was allowing myself to really get out in front of people. I started doing like short form video, talking to people into the camera and
yeah,
and one of my friends who actually like full circle moment, she's had her own trajectory and I as well, and we've always supported each other in business,
Yeah.
and she was one of the first persons to tell me, "Get on camera and tell people what you're doing." And this is
Who was that friend?
2000. Her name is Flossie Hall. Hi,
Okay.
Flossie.
Yeah.
2018, I think she told me to start doing short form videos. So this is 5 years ago.
Wow.
When,
She
yeah,
was she was like a decade ahead, it feels like.
yeah,
Even though it was only 5 years ago, like nobody
and
was doing that at that time.
and I was like going live on Facebook, and people were like, "Oh, I see your stuff." Well, first full circle moment with I report to her on events that I do. The company she works for, so we work together
Right.
now, and we've known each other for 5, 6 years now,
Cool.
7 years probably. So yeah, yeah. So it became me using my personal brand to share my information of what I thought was valuable to the LinkedIn audience that turned into people coming to me to help them create their strategy and content for LinkedIn.
Got it.
So,
Okay. And then so you were focused on LinkedIn, and then
mhm,
at what point did you start like actually doing? So you're doing live streaming to promote your own brand essentially at that point,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
Then at what point did you start doing live streaming for other people?
Yeah, so during 2019, I had met another gentleman at San Diego Startup Week,
Yeah.
and he is a UX designer. And if anyone knows UX, um, there's not a lot of content you can really post about and talk about UX. I mean, at least back then, there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of things like Loom or recording your screen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we decided to create a podcast, a video podcast, so that we could like talk to other small business owners or single solopreneurs back then, about their what they've learned in business to help
Cool.
with our personal brand. So we were connecting with people that we thought might eventually use our services, whether it's building a website or LinkedIn content strategy, live
Yeah.
streaming. So we would use the podcast video cast as a lead generation tool. So we started using StreamYard back in 2019
Got it.
to have these interviews with people and
What was the show
create
called?
business AF.
Business AF?
Yes,
What does
yes.
the AF stand for?
Oh, I'm not gonna say that. You can Google it.
Alright. That's a good name.
Yes, it's
Okay.
okay. But I think it was just not, we didn't think too far in advance on the branding of that because it kind of fizzled out after people thought, "Oh, that's funny."
Yeah.
Business AF, uh, as F,
Yeah.
basically.
Got it, okay.
Um, and yeah, so that kind of fizzled out, but it also wasn't it was time consuming because um shout out to Chris who was my co-host. He wasn't very good at like doing his tasks
Oh,
to be a
got it.
collaborative show host.
Yeah.
So yeah. And we didn't do a lot of post-production promotion. So it
Yeah.
was like, hey, we have this episode, but then no one was watching it, but then we didn't really talk about it after. And so it just became
Yeah.
too much. We stopped it
Totally.
after like 30 episodes or something like that. So
Yeah. Fair. Okay. So
still
your
30
first
is a good.
so your first live streaming tool was StreamYard then? Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's
Oh, okay.
correct. Yeah.
What about the first Facebook lives that you were doing? Was that just on the Facebook app or
Yeah, on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. I tried it on the desktop, you could go, like, live on the desktop with their, like, internal Facebook Live, but it just felt so well, I didn't have, a webcam, I didn't have any lighting source, so it was kinda just like, "I'm gonna go live," and it was like a,
You're
landscape.
you're
There's
Gary
no
Vaynerchuk and
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just no there's no branding to it. It's just kinda like, "Well, why am I going live?"
Yeah.
And this was pre knowing about, like, tools like StreamYard really,
Yeah.
it was like
Fair.
or I was, like, walking around going live, holding the phone like
And
that,
so have you
so
ever really streamed with anything but StreamYard?
yes, I
Yeah?
have. Yeah.
What? What other tools do you use
Um,
today?
Restream. I've done a
Yeah,
lot of RTMP streams as well,
yeah,
which is whatever these event platforms have
yeah,
built in.
yeah.
Um, and Riverside.
Riverside. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. So I think there's Maestro I've used as a producer, but not like live stream. But most of my live streams myself are StreamYard.
got it. Okay, and then so you started. You're way deep into live stream before the pandemic, so good for you. You're in a good spot for the pandemic. Was
Hmm.
um like when you heard that everybody was going to have to stay at home in like
Yeah.
March 2022 2020, you just like
Hmm.
jump out of your chair and start dancing like you just knew you're like it's
No.
the big time.
Yeah, it was weird because like I was still serving. So one of my clients was a co-working space, and I had a desk there, and so I was really working with a lot of business owners to like create LinkedIn specific content. I was working with like startup companies as well as like solopreneurs. I was also helping the co-working space actually build their client base through LinkedIn content because
Yeah,
they were like, we're fine with Facebook and Instagram. We just don't know the algorithm on LinkedIn. And I was like, well, you just have to have tons of content,
yeah,
and you have to constantly and you actually have to, like, the person that was in charge of selling the spaces, like the business
yeah,
development person, like she didn't like to use social media. So it was like I was her ghostwriter. There was a lot more lockdown there than I think
yeah,
anywhere else. There's a lot of concern, but technically the co-working space had to stay open because they manage mail for certain businesses. So it
right.
allowed them to stay open. They didn't have to
Okay.
shut down.
Yeah,
However, no one was coming in
yeah.
because they just so we've developed like a morning show for
Mm,
the co-working space, and we started using StreamYard to then put it out on Facebook and LinkedIn, and
yeah,
we would do like quick updates, like these are the things that we've been doing to the space. It's all like there was pictures of like all the plastic, the plexiglass things to like keep everyone safe.
yay.
And I'm like, oh, this is so weird. It's just weird to me, like what we were doing in order to,
Yeah,
communicate that. But then we had another part where we would then bring on one of the business owners that was a member, and we would interview them about their business. It was a
awesome.
35-minute show, and
Yeah,
it was content for them. But at the time, it was just like we're going live, and hopefully everyone watches live. There was no concept of like, how can we use this going forward for a content
oh, interesting, okay.
strategy? It
Yeah,
was just the thing was like, you must go live, you must go live, right?
yeah,
So that was the the catalyst really to kind of make me think, okay, like this can be another business, but I have to differentiate it from my social media content consulting and like content creation on
yeah.
LinkedIn. It has to be different. So that's how my whole new business was. And I basically created a new logo and a new name and a domain like on in middle of March 2020.
Wow, okay. And that's been the main focus since then?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, and I actually get to blend both right now because I still am very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I get most of my business through LinkedIn. So
yeah.
there's a lot of people that are coming to me for advice on how to trick the algorithm and all that stuff on LinkedIn. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, you just got to be present there. And I
Yeah,
just kept saying, you just got to be present. You just got to be
yeah,
present. And that along with my personal stuff that was going on, like it was just perfect to like start actually naming the business, be present,
yeah,
and utilizing my slogan, which is be present for the conversations that matter, because
yeah,
we're producing all this content. And if you're the host, you're not present because you're thinking about pressing buttons and
totally. Yeah,
worrying about comments instead of like delivering your message. So,
yeah. Cool, okay, that makes sense. I've got such a better background now.
yeah.
So that's the past. Well, I'm interested in the future.
Yeah.
Um, say it's May 2028. We're on episode number 3000. Where, otherwise, where are you at that point? What do you think is going to be different in 5 years?
Yeah.
Or what are your plans?
Okay, so I just said I'm like present, and now you're asking me about the future, and I'm like, what? I can't think that far. My goal, obviously, is always to serve those who don't understand the tech and take that guesswork out. So,
Yeah,
however the industry evolves, we'll see. I mean, I couldn't predict how it is now. I couldn't predict AI.
yeah,
There's no way that I would have been able to do that. I think if I constantly focus on my why of being present for conversations that matter, but also inspiring abundance, what I'm thinking of is constantly being that resource for people that can understand the tech and the creativity and all the things that live streaming brings and how that can further them in business, what in success in life and all that. So what that looks like, my hope is that I have 2 or 3 more people on my team
yeah.
full time. I'm almost ready to do that, but I think, being a solopreneur for so long, and there's a little bit of control that I need to let go of. If I'm planning to be in this business for a long time, then I need to understand and continue to focus on my why. Not so much like how many clients is that gonna be or how many employees is that gonna be, because it could literally all crash. So
You just got a minute left here. I was just thinking
mhm,
some rapid fire
sure.
questions. Any ideas how many hours you've live streamed or podcasted for altogether? Like whether producing or on
No.
camera?
No, so I do a mix of
Ballpark, like 1,000, a million,
probably, yeah. So I've been live
1,000.
streaming professionally as a producer since like like June, July 2020.
Yeah,
So, that's coming up on 3 years of consistent work.
so hard to tell overall.
It is like one of my biggest projects is me and a team of 4 others, and we're producing over 125 sessions
Whoa.
in a span of 3 weeks. So that's, whatever, 40, 45 sessions a week,
Yeah,
for all day long. So yeah,
I bet.
it can be a lot. And those sessions could be 30 minutes, could be 90 minutes. I mean, it really just
Yeah,
doesn't I want them to come up with a tally of how many hours,
yeah.
because that would be really interesting. I mean, I guess I'll have to go through with a calculator and start
Yeah,
adding
one
things
by
up.
one. You put on one of those little hats and get the big ticker thing, right?
Yeah,
That can
seriously.
be a gift that goes on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Um, Final question. I like Tim Ferriss's final question here. If you could put up a billboard that everyone would drive by and see it, so like 5, maybe 7 words, what would you put on that billboard? Like, what should people know?
Well, I mean, I said it before, be present for the conversations that matter. And that could
Yeah,
be anything between your friends, between, you know, obviously 2020 was a huge change for a lot of people, social change, but also business change. And I think it really aligned a lot well with like what I was doing, because I was taking that guesswork out of people's brains of how to go live and still be able to like deliver their content. That's really important. But um, I also have a saying, it's like all we have is now.
yeah,
And, I think it does align a lot with everything, because in tech, things can go wrong. And, you could have an intro like ours and it could be all messed up because we're just not on point.
right. I forgot about that. That was only
But
28 minutes
we
ago.
did, but yeah, see, you forgot about it because it's like, it's
We
just
just went.
not, yeah, we just went through it, and we didn't give ourselves too much guilt or shame for messing up. And I think a lot of people, if they can learn that all they have is now and just move forward, then I think
That
it
makes
will
sense.
really help
Awesome.
in
And
life.
we normally end these shows with like, how does that make you resilient or how does this help? But I think that is definitely a story of resilience from going from one
Mhm.
industry to the next and actually making it work on your own. It's crazy.
Yes, for sure.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
But yeah, I think that's it for the show today. Thanks for tuning in to Resilient Events on the 100 TV network. I am John Harris, and this is the magnificent Marisa Cali. Until next time, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Resilient Events. With real-life examples and events expertise, they'll help you finish planning and start doing. Only on the 100 TV network. Visit rizpod.live for show extras and freebies.